the country forward. So really on behalf of First EMP, thanks very much for inviting us. So maybe just a background. So I work in the upstream sector of the oil and gas industry. Upstream sector has a lot of various entities, but First EMP is in the exploration and production side of that business, which means we look for oil and gas, we produce that as efficiently as we can, and we deliver that product for sales or for down the value chain. And I think what BrandZone wants us to focus on today is how do we deliver some of our own feedstock down the value chain in catalyzing energy needs of this country. So I'm going to touch on that. I'm going to try to put some structure to what I'd like to share this morning. I think what I always feel is, before we just dive into growth and the future, we have. So I'm going to concentrate my work here this morning on three major legs. First of all, let's fix the basics. How do we just fix the basics? Because most time we always see, how do we grow? And my own view is, sometimes the platform of the basics are not there. And if you build growth on that, then you have inefficiencies and you lose a lot of value. So I'd like to touch on fixing the basics. And my second part I'd like to touch on is, how do we make the decisions of today? And how do we understand what the global dynamics are for those decisions we need to make? And then lastly, I will touch on, how do we build that platform for growth? And what do I mean by basics? I'm going to share with you a few things about our own sector of the oil and gas industry and what we are plagued, or should I say what we're belabored with. So we're belabored with, one of the big factors of our industry is health, safety, and environment. Every oil and gas company tells you that is the table stakes. If you don't deliver that, then you're not even at the table to play the game. Health, safety, and environment. If you think of the Ogoni land and you think of the environmental devastation we have there, and we are seeing in a lot more of the Niger Delta. If you look at the health hazards, I'm just going to pick one for those who live in Port Harcourt. You keep hearing of that haze and the health hazards of that. Whether we like it or not, that is a product from the resources that we bring out of the ground. Either people are managing it wrong, or they're creating that environmental hazard. It's happening. And this industry cannot grow at the exponential rates we need to grow if this health, safety, and environment is not in place. If we double our production and double our infrastructure, we will significantly increase the impact we have on the environment. So we have to get that right. And that's the thing I think we need to fix is, how do we have a sustainable license to operate? Today, all of us operate, whether we go to the field, or we go to the swamps, or we go offshore, we go with security. And let me say this, there are very few countries in the world today that oil and gas is being produced from, that is the basis of their operations. There are probably a few, but Nigeria is the one that's known for that. In essence, we are operating at the edge of the Equator Principles. And this is not sustainable. You cannot want to go to the field and you have to have military escorts and all of that. That's not sustainable. And if we don't fix that, I don't see how we will have exponential growth. It will always be stunted growth. Illegal bunkering. Everyone produces oil and gas today, and what you sell is probably a percentage less than what you produced, because it's either stolen or it's lost or it's spilled. One thing happens to it. That is not probably sustainable for us, some of us who work in this industry, but it's not sustainable for the long term. And then I'm going to touch on two other factors that are key for growth. We have to fix the governance and the operational efficiencies of this industry. Today, I mean, Chizor has done a fantastic job to drag some of us here, but today in Abuja, the Petroleum Industry Bill is being presented for public clearing at the House of Representatives this week. That's an important bill for us that will structurally change how this industry is governed and regulated. And we need that to happen. And I'm going to use one example. If I want to get a drilling rig in this country today in the joint ventures or the PSCs, it could take me 18 months, 24 months, 36 months. That would not engender growth. So those are things that I think the PIB is looking at to restructure, and hopefully we'll have a successful run with this PIB at this time. We have to write cost. The cost of production in Nigeria is probably still one of the highest in the world. And it's not the cost of actually the day-to-day things we do. It's the additional things we add to it. Cost of security. Cost of security adds easily 20% on our cost. So when I say, let's fix the basics, if you try and build growth on all those things I've shared with you without fixing them, that growth is not sustainable. That growth can be taken away by one or two factors. So it's very important that we just don't jump on the platform of growth. We have to fix the basics. And I always use this example, and I always say to my kids, get the best results from your GCSEs. Get the best results from your A-levels. Then the option opens for you to do anything you want. But once you stunt your results and you don't get the best, you limit yourself. And that's the same example. If we don't fix these basics, that growth will not be what we should get. Quickly, I'll move to what are the decisions of today? And I would say there are some decisions we have to make today. And unfortunately, sometimes in Nigeria, we tarry on those decisions and we never make them. PIB. So it's at the National Assembly this week and next week. We've been on this journey for about 14 years. And if you listen to Dr. Kachikwu say, because we didn't pass the PIB, we probably lost over $100 billion of investment in this industry. Because investors want certainty. And one of the big certainties is, what are the bases for me to make money? And that's what the PIB is about. And when they don't have that confidence, that money doesn't come. And Nigeria is not the only destination for funds. So our prayer in this industry is the PIB being presented this week and next week may not be perfect. But let's just get it done. Let's get it over us, out of the way, so we have some clarity and certainty. I think some of the other two big decisions we need to make is, how do we enable this gas value chain? I'm going to talk on how gas will enable growth. I'm just going to use one statement from me. The federal government does not need revenue from gas. So you don't need to tax gas. You don't need to collect royalty. And I know my colleagues in government and NNPC say, that's wrong. Gas is a multiplier effect. A molecule of gas, what it would do to the economy of this country is huge. It probably has a 10-fold impact for government, both in revenue and all the other things they're looking for. So my view is, why do you want to make revenue from gas? If you don't build the reserves and you don't drill the wells and you don't build the infrastructure, there will be no gas to send to any power plant. But if it's not economic for me to drill that well, I will not drill it. And these are just the small little fundamentals for me that when I say, what are the decisions we need to make today? One other one is big projects taking what I call investment decisions and sanctions on them. It just takes too long. Some of you may have heard of Bonga Southwest. I mean, this is a project that should actually be on stream by now, but it's still waiting for an investment decision. And I can touch on a few other projects like that across. But when we don't take those decisions, other countries produce oil and gas, and we don't. So when I say that we need to make decisions of today, we as a country need to make those decisions so that we can move forward. But when we tarry, nothing happens. The other part I want to touch on very quickly is the global dynamics. To grow, we must decide what is the basis of our growth. Because it's not just about producing oil and gas. Because today, every country in the world produces oil and gas. Even the US exports. If you go to the west coast of Africa, Ghana is already producing. So we don't have that sole position we had in the past. So we have to understand the dynamics that will shape the growth that we would like. And I'm just going to touch on a few very quickly. US and Iran is a factor. So some of us in the upstream, we like the current oil price. And sometimes when I listen to the tweets of President Trump, I smile and I say, continue, sir. Because it makes the oil price go up, and that's good for us. But as a world dynamic, it's not good. Middle East instability. Whatever you think about the president moving the U.S. Department or embassy to Jerusalem, whatever your thoughts are, it's a dynamic that's going to impact the energy. Russia, gas into Europe, shale oil. I can list all of these things. But I want to come to, if Nigeria wants to grow, it has to understand those dynamics as well. So as I get to the end of what I'd like to share, I want to touch on what should we do to build the growth platform for Nigeria. We need to move from being a commodity selling country to being a value-based country. We produce oil and we export it and we sell. Very few countries who are major oil resource holding countries sell their oil that way. They get the derivatives out of them. They multiply effect. They get value out of that product and then they sell that. They don't sell gas, they sell plastics. They don't sell crude oil, they sell all the various blends that you can get out of it. But what we've been doing over the last 60 years is still selling the same thing. So for me, if I had to tell government to do one thing is take a decision and shift from selling the commodity that you produce and create more value out of it and sell that value. What that does is you generate more revenue, you create employment, and you start to have an industrial base that this country can build on. In simple terms, we need to grow our production. We've been touching at 2 million barrels a day. 3. Gas, we should be producing about 15 BCF a day. If we produce 15 BCF a day, we'll have enough gas to fire all the gas plants in this country. And we can do that in the next 5 years. But to do that, we're going to need to spend every year for the oil and gas industry $25 to $30 billion. That's not going to come from government. That's going to come from other investors. And you have to make this place conducive to them, competitive for that investment to come in. If we don't, that money won't come in. And when I talk about the table stakes, when I said fix the basics, if you don't fix those basics, the investor will not bring their money here. We have to explore for more oil and more gas. I think the saying is that Nigeria is a gas province, that we found gas as we're looking for oil. They say that this country probably has about 80 TC. It could be 150, it could be 200. But we have not fully explored the and we need to. And it's a shame when you look at how many exploration wells that we drill. For those of you who don't know, how we find oil and gas is when we have exploration